This testimony was sent to us by a Muslim lady. She died and encountered Jesus, and he told her the truth about Islam and which religion is the true way to paradise. Please note that this experience is based on personal encounter. Before we begin, if you are new to our channel, please like and subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell icon for more content like this. Now let's begin. I was raised to believe that faith was the foundation of everything. From the moment I could walk, my parents taught me the prayers, the verses, the way of life expected of a good Muslim woman. And I embraced it. My name is Jamila, and my faith was my identity. Marriage only strengthened that identity. My husband, a respected imam, was a man of deep conviction. He led prayers at the mosque, counseled those in need, and reminded me daily that our purpose on this earth was to serve Allah. I followed his lead, covering myself modestly, obeying his words, and devoting my life to the path set before me. But there were always questions in my heart. Silent ones. Questions I never dared to voice. What if I didn't feel the same closeness to Allah that others claimed to have? What if the doubts that crept into my mind meant I was failing as a believer? I swallowed these thoughts, burying them beneath prayer and routine, convincing myself that faith was about submission, not understanding. Then came the day that changed everything. It started with a simple weakness, a tiredness that wouldn't go away. Then the pain began. At first, I dismissed it. But when the doctors spoke, their words shattered my world. Cancer. A word I never imagined would be attached to me. The room spun. My husband's hand tightened around mine. The doctor's voice was calm, but all I heard was the certainty of death. Fear gripped me in a way I had never known before. My faith was supposed to comfort me, but instead, I found myself clinging to it in desperation. I prayed harder, longer. I whispered verses under my breath, seeking solace in the words I had known all my life. But something was different now. A small voice inside me, the one I had silenced for years, grew louder. Was my faith real, or had I simply followed a path laid before me? If I had truly believed, why did I feel so alone? I didn't say these thoughts out loud. I couldn't. My husband reminded me to trust in Allah, to accept his will. And I nodded. I forced a smile. But inside, the battle raged on. Each night, as I lay awake staring at the ceiling, I wondered. If my time on this earth was ending, did I truly know the one I had spent my life worshipping? And if I didn't, what did that mean for me? The pain had become unbearable, but I didn't want to show it. I had always been strong, always endured. That afternoon, my husband was leading prayers at the mosque, and I forced myself to go with him. I told myself that being in the house of Allah would give me strength. I barely made it past the first few minutes of prayer before everything blurred. A sharp pain shot through my chest, my legs gave way, and the world around me darkened. I heard faint shouts, the rush of footsteps, but it all faded too fast. Then, nothing. Later, I would learn that my heart had stopped. The doctors declared me clinically dead for 23 minutes. My husband, my family, my community, they surrounded me in the hospital, their voices breaking as they called my name, begging Allah for a miracle. But I was no longer there. I was above them, watching. My mother clung to my husband's arm, her face streaked with tears. My sister rocked back and forth, whispering prayers through trembling lips. My husband stood frozen, his lips moving in silent supplication, but his eyes betrayed his fear. And yet, I felt no pain, no sorrow, no fear. A deep peace washed over me, unlike anything I had ever known. It was as if I had been freed from everything. My body, my doubts, my struggles. Then, I felt it. A pull. It wasn't forceful, but it was undeniable. A light, unfamiliar yet strangely welcoming, called to me. It wasn't the burning brightness I had imagined from religious teachings. It was soft, warm, and full of something I couldn't name. I hesitated. My whole life, I had believed in an afterlife. But this wasn't what I had expected. It wasn't the instant judgment, the fearsome scales weighing my deeds. It was something different. And as I drifted toward it, I felt for the first time that I was about to understand everything I had never dared to ask. I watched as my family mourned, their grief so raw, it was like I could feel it deep in my own chest. But it wasn't my chest. It wasn't my body anymore. There was a detachment, a distance that made me feel both free and sorrowful at the same time. I was there, yet not there. I couldn't explain it, almost as if I were floating, untethered to the world I had known. There was no pain, no fear, no confusion, only an overwhelming sense of peace. A peace that seemed to wrap itself around my very soul, soothing every part of me that had ever known anxiety or doubt. It was a profound stillness, almost as if time itself had stopped, and I was existing in this moment of absolute calm. And then, I felt it, the pull. At first, I resisted. It was gentle but powerful, drawing me towards something I couldn't quite see. But the pull was persistent, and against my will, I found myself moving toward a light, bright, warm, and comforting in a way that words could not fully capture. I knew, deep in my soul, that this wasn't just a place in the world I had left behind. No, this was beyond this world. I was somewhere that didn't belong to the earth, somewhere far from everything I had ever known. As I moved closer to the light, I saw a figure, standing still, waiting for me. The moment I saw him, a sense of awe filled me. His presence was so powerful that it felt as if the whole universe had come to a standstill. I knew him, yet I didn't. The moment was surreal. I had seen images of him before, told he was the Son of God, revered in many ways, but never in a million years did I imagine this. There he was, standing before me, radiating peace and authority. My heart pounded, my mind racing. I couldn't help myself. In that moment of disbelief, my mind shouted, "But you're just a prophet. What is this? Why are you here with me?" But he wasn't angry. He didn't rebuke me. Instead, he simply looked at me, his eyes full of compassion and understanding. And then, he spoke. He revealed to me the truth I had never fully grasped, the truth about who he was, and what he had come to offer. It wasn't about titles or the divisions I had known in my earthly life. It was about something far deeper, more profound than I had ever realized. His words weren't harsh, nor were they filled with judgment. They were gentle, but firm, as if he was gently leading me into a reality I had only touched on in fleeting moments of reflection. He made me understand, finally, that I was now being shown the way, and it was time for me to embrace the full truth of what had always been there, but I had never fully accepted. In that moment, all my doubts fell away, replaced with clarity. What I had once thought was a simple matter of faith was now a vast ocean of understanding. And as I stood before him, I realized that my journey was far from over. It had only just begun. Before me, the Quran appeared, glowing with an intensity one had never seen before. The pages flipped on their own, as if guided by an unseen hand. My heart pounded as I saw verses I had read countless times, but now, they stood out in a way I could not ignore. Words about Jesus, passages I had skimmed over without much thought, now burned with meaning. It was as if the veil had been lifted, revealing something that had been hidden in plain sight. Then, suddenly, another book appeared beside it. It was the Bible, radiating with a light even brighter. The moment I laid my eyes on it, I felt a presence, an undeniable authority within its pages. They opened before me, not randomly, but with divine precision. Verses about love, sacrifice, and redemption filled my sight. The words spoke of a grace I had never truly understood, a love that was not earned but freely given. A wave of understanding washed over me, unlike anything I had known before. The burden of striving, of fearing I would never be good enough, was lifted. I saw the truth. I had been living by laws and obligations, but here was something deeper, something greater. It wasn't about rituals or endless attempts to prove my worth. It was about grace, undeserved, unconditional grace. At that moment, I realized I had been searching for something my whole life, and now I had found it. Just as this revelation settled in my heart, the scene around me shifted. The light dimmed, and suddenly, I was standing on the edge of a vast, terrifying abyss. Heat radiated from below, thick and suffocating. Distant cries, agonized and hopeless, echoed through the darkness. My body trembled as I took in the sight before me, a place of torment and regret. I saw faces, faces I recognized. Some were people I had known in my lifetime. The shock of recognition made my knees weak. They weren't strangers. They were people who had once walked the earth, people who had lived, laughed, and made choices just like I had. Now, they were trapped in a place from which there was no escape. Their eyes held desperation, regret, terror. Then, I heard his voice again, calm, firm, undeniable. He revealed to me that this was the fate of those who had rejected salvation. Those who had ignored the truth when it had been shown to them. Those who had hardened their hearts, refusing the gift that had been freely offered. I felt an overwhelming sorrow. This was real. This was eternal. And in that moment, I knew everything I had believed before had been incomplete. The truth had been before me all along, and now, I had seen it with my own eyes. I had been given a choice, and I knew what I had to do. Once again, I stood before him. The brilliance of his presence filled every part of me, yet a deep sorrow lingered in his gaze. There was urgency in the moment, something that made my heart tighten. He revealed to me that my time was not yet over. There was something I had to do, something I had been chosen for. The thought of leaving the light behind was agonizing. Here, there was perfect peace, perfect love. I had never felt so whole, so alive. But I understood. I had been given a truth that I could not keep to myself. There were many still lost, still blind to what I had now seen with my own eyes. And so, with a heavy heart, I surrendered to the call to return. A jolt. A gasp. My body convulsed as breath rushed back into my lungs. My eyes fluttered open to the sight of bright hospital lights and blurred figures moving frantically around me. Voices filled the air, some gasping, some crying, some whispering in shock. Then, I saw him, my husband. Tears streamed down his face, his hands trembling as he reached out to touch me. He had been praying, hoping, believing for a miracle. And now, here I was, alive. The doctors stood frozen, their faces filled with disbelief. One of them murmured that I had been gone for 23 minutes. Clinically dead. There was no way I should have come back. And yet, here I was. But the greatest shock was yet to come. Days turned into a whirlwind of tests, scans, and medical reviews. Every trace of cancer, every tumor, every sign of the disease that had once been eating away at my body, was gone. Not in remission. Not improving. Completely gone. Doctors flipped through reports, whispering among themselves, shaking their heads. "This is impossible," one finally said aloud. But I knew. I had seen the impossible with my own eyes. I had encountered the one who held all power, and he had touched me. The weight of what had happened settled deep within me. I had not only been brought back, I had been made whole. I had been given a second chance. And I knew what I had to do. At first, I thought everyone would rejoice with me, that they would see what I had seen and believe. But the moment I began to speak, the resistance started. I spoke of my encounter, of what had been revealed to me. I spoke of Jesus. And the moment I did, everything changed. Whispers turned into arguments. My family, my community, the people who had once embraced me, now kept their distance. Some begged me to stop talking. Others warned me that I was being deceived. But my husband, he was different. He didn't understand everything I was saying, but I saw it in his eyes. He believed me. Maybe not in the way I had hoped, but he knew something miraculous had happened. And that was enough. The rejection grew. Friends turned away. Family members avoided me. I was no longer welcomed where I had once been honored. It was painful, but nothing compared to what I had seen in that dark place. In those moments of loneliness, I clung to the presence I had first encountered beyond this life. The peace that had filled me in his presence did not leave. It was with me, guiding me, strengthening me. I had lost many things, but I had gained something far greater. I began to search, to seek, to understand more of what had been shown to me. And as I opened the Bible, everything became clearer. The words I read filled me with the same peace, the same certainty I had felt in that place. I discovered the depth of Jesus' love, a love that did not demand perfection but offered grace. A love that did not bind with rules but freed through faith. And as I surrendered to this truth, the battle within me ceased. I was at peace, not because I had all the answers, but because I finally knew the one who did. With each passing day, I felt the urgency grow within me. I had been given a mission, and I could not remain silent. I began to share my testimony with others. Some listened. Some mocked. Some walked away. But a few, just a few, paused long enough to hear. And in their eyes, I saw the same search, the same longing I had once felt. It was not easy. It was lonely. It was painful. But it was worth it. Because even if just one soul found the truth, it would all be worth it. I know what I saw. I know what I heard. And I know the truth that has changed my life forever. There is more beyond this life. There is a choice that each of us must make. I was given a second chance to choose, and I have chosen truth. And now, I ask you, what will you choose? All right, friends. This brings us to the end of today's experience. Kindly like and share this video with your friends and families. Also, do not forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on your notification bell icon to be the first to get updated anytime we upload a new experience sent to us. Until next time, remain blessed.